This is the Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie podcast.
Fitz, this is fascinating because I didn't think it was possible. You're going to introduce us to someone who lives off the grid, not plugged into the system at all, does everything by herself without any need of services.
And you know what? We're very lucky, Whip, to have this young lady with us this morning. Jo Nemeth quit her corporate job as a community development officer in 2015.
Yeah.
Jo was overwhelmed by the cost of rent and bills, and she wanted to fight the climate crisis. So Jo passed all her money in bank accounts to her 18-year-old daughter before she moved to a friend's farm, and she built this tiny little shack from old building materials, and she now lives in that home. Instead of paying rent, she does her own cooking, cleaning, grows produce on her little place as well, and she hasn't had a car, phone, internet, new clothes or running water. We've been trying to get Jo on this show for the past month.
What do we do, send a homing pigeon or something?
I don't know. We're going to have to ask her, but Jo joins us now. Good morning, Jo.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Jo, my question would be, first up, what does total freedom feel like?
Look, it's been a really nice experiment for me for the last 10 years. I just have to correct a couple of things there,
we
though.
go.
Yeah.
I did start off in that situation that you're describing, but now, so for the last few years, I've been living in a suburban home in Lismore. And in this home, what I'm trying to do is still do what I've been doing and reduce my footprint. I don't have any new resources that are just for me, and I don't have my own money. But the rest of the people in the house have money. So it's tricky, but my idea here is to reduce their consumption of resources, reduce their need to buy things, and I think I've done that successfully.
Jo, this is an unbelievable story, and I commend you for it. In 2015, what was the hardest thing? When you first started doing this, you gave all your money over. Did you hit rock bottom at some stage, Jo, or was it a real hard part?
No. Look, I didn't hit rock bottom. Look, there were difficulties like washing my clothes in cold tap water. I did hand washing. I didn't enjoy that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I also really loved the fact that I didn't have to be anywhere or doing anything for anyone else. So I did have that sense of freedom. And with that sense of freedom, actually, I had a sense of guilt. I was like, oh, my goodness, everyone else around me is working so hard and being all stressed like I used to be. And I'm not like that anymore.
Yeah.
It feels really weird. A little bit wrong. I should be doing all these other things.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Like, Jo, was there a moment in your old world, was there a stressful moment that broke you where you thought, there's a better way of doing this thing called life?
Yeah, look, I used to go to the supermarket and do my shopping, and I was just always, I got to the point where it was just really, really stressful because I knew that I'd done enough research and reading online to know that whatever can of tomatoes I picked off the shelf in the supermarket, there was going to be someone somewhere who's going to be hurt.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's my daughter because of the supply chains and the shipping through from the other side of the world, or if I was buying Australian tomatoes, were the Australian farmers getting a fair pay? And that was just doing my head in.
Isn't that interesting?
Can you give us just go through it quickly? But what would a normal day detail for you, Jo? What would you do?
Oh, well, when I was living on the farm back in when I started, that was pretty chill. I used to just do a bit of gardening and sit around and read. It was pretty. But now I live in this busy household. We've got 9 people here, including 3 young ones who. So it's a hectic household, and here I'm trying to minimise the footprint of the household. So I'm constantly, like, I'm in the kitchen, I'm making food, I'm doing preserving, I'm making tofu, I'm making soap, I'm out in the garden, and I'm trying to grow food here. So
what's the one thing that you missed out in the farm, Jo? When you're out in the farm and you're out there, was it chocolate? Was it a red wine? What was the one thing that you just missed the most? What was your vice?
Look, I didn't like it if I ran out of my honey that people had gifted me.
Yeah. Jo, you are an inspiration. You really, really are, because a lot of people think this and they would love to do it, but you did it. You know what? You just said, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. And for a year and a half, you went off the grid, which is
bush change.
It would have changed you, Jo. And can I just say that you look very healthy and obviously stress-free. There's probably a bit of stress coming back into a house with a family and young kids now, but we commend you and thanks for finding the time to having a chat to us, Jo.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Fits in Whipper with Kate Ritchie is a Nova podcast. For more great shows like this, download the Nova Player via the App Store or Google Play.
The Nova Player.